neck. Right now, put down your hand, look for, and what makes risk management a good tool in enhancing internal controls. Alright? Okay. By the way, have you heard about COSO framework? Okay, next question. Can somebody tell me what is risk? Risk, what's a risk? Layman's term.
Risk is anything that gives uncertainty to a particular goal.
Alright, okay. In layman's term, what's a risk? It is a potential event that can happen between now, where I'm standing, as I reach my objective. Alright? So every business has an objective. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes? Now, between today, at this moment, and towards that objective, those events in between that has the likelihood of happening are risks. Daling maintindihan, right? Okay. When you're going to your office every morning, how do you ensure that you get to your office on time? You prepare your clothes the night before. Do you? Or na-relate kasi nagbabago pa, hindi pa na-plancha, right? Have you had an experience where nakarating ka na sa metro station, naiwan mo pala ang gold card mo?
Yes.
Yes? What happened? You're not able to reach your office on time, right? When you look at risk management, you are also looking into how you manage your day-to-day life. You have your own objectives every single day, and you anticipate the likelihood of events that could happen that could, one, lead you to your objective much faster. Siguro may makita kang office mate na magdadala ng kotse, mas mabilis ka doon. Or something that could really hamper you from reaching there on time. O, diba? Ang dali lang naman pala ng risk management. Okay? But then again, the COSO framework is an enterprise risk management that would ensure that there's a framework being followed by organizations on how we should look into risk management. Okay? So COSO stands for Committee of Sponsoring Organizations. It's composed of these 5 bodies which are really authorized in different aspects, including your aspect of financial reporting. So, magandang basihan natin. No, it's just not something that's taken from thin air, right? Now, why have they created this? So that when a company has to implement an enterprise risk management, it would look into one same framework and have the same perspective. Because the implementation of your risk controls may vary from different companies. Naiintindihan pa ba ako? Okay? Sige. I will explain this further. Now, if you look at this is a cube. This is what you call a COSO cube. Wherever you research, pare-pareho yan, hindi yan magbabago. Okay? Although may nagbago na from the first version to the latest version. Okay? Now, if you look at here, on this side, these are different levels in an entity. There are different kinds of risk. Entity level risk, right? So when you say entity level risk, those are the risks from an entity level. Those risks are then cascaded down to each of the subunits. You would have your functions, your departments, your business units, down to the lowest level. Do you agree?
Yes.
Right? Now, every function, let's say finance, you're having your issues of, you have your objectives, and to reach your objectives, you have certain risks in between, right? What if you're not able to give the financial report? Therefore, management would not be able to make sound decisions. Right? What if there's an issue in the integrity of your report? Therefore, nobody would rely on your financial report. Yes? So, when you look at it, every single function, unit, and department has to consider that you have your own objectives, your own operations, your own reporting and monitoring activities, and your own level of compliance. Do you agree? Great. If I look into a purchasing function, the purchasing function has an objective. What is the objective? To acquire the goods on time at the best price possible. Right? That's the objective. What's the reporting? They have their KPIs, right? Their KPIs would then determine that their report should align to whether measuring their KPIs. Do you agree? Right? Whether I have done the proper accreditation of my vendors. So I would be able to ensure that my vendors can deliver on my goods or hindi lang sila fly by night. Right? So these are the reporting levels in every organization, every function that is there. Do you agree? Now, if everyone would have this perspective, that I am performing a certain function, I have my own operations of doing things, and I need to report, okay? I have my accountability to measure my KPI, and I need to comply in certain controls to make sure that I do things uniformly, right? Then everyone becomes responsible of their own functions. There is a sense of accountability and a sense of ownership of what you are doing. Am I still understood? Yes. Okay, that's great. Now, that is the difference. That's the difference when you would have a different perspective. Kasi hindi lahat ng bagay nakukuha natin sa numero. O, diba? Mabas mga CPAs. Okay. So, look into the softer side of things. As I said, these are the components that looks into every level in the organization. Every level would have their own operations, reporting, and compliance. So far clear? Now, let me walk you through into the risk management perspective. How the control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information, communication, and monitoring is important in every function. Every function, regardless. Okay? Okay pa tayo, ha? Control environment. This talks about the integrity, your focus on competence. This is actually the culture in an organization. Whether you like it or not, every business, every function, the moment you go into an organization, iba-iba ang kultura nila. This is actually the unseen factor that plays a very critical role in how people behave and how internal controls are actually being carried out. Yes? Okay. So I've handled several organizations within one conglomerate. So Altair Group has 10,000 employees, and they have 5 major verticals. Under those major verticals, they have sub-companies under it. Although we are one big umbrella, I've done audits in multiple companies. Every company, pagpasok mo, iba-iba kultura nila. No? Even pagpasok mo sa isang department. Right? Now, we will then see how this affects on the internal risk management perspective. Risk assessment. Do you know why you have to assess risk? Do you know? Yes. Bakit nga? May sagot? What? Sige, ako na nga lang. Nakapabila kayo. We need to assess risk because we have to handle those that are critical. Handle them first. So say for example, critical sa'yo na makarating ka ng opisina. The biggest hurdle for you is you have to walk 10 minutes to reach the metro. Right? So, and you have 20 minutes left na lang. Your travel from the metro to your office would take you 30 or 40 minutes. Minsan pa, nasasarhan ka na kasi hindi ka na nakapasok, parang beef loaf na sa loob ng wala nang space talaga. Right? So what would you do? Your objective is to reach your office. Right? You have 20 minutes left. So to mitigate that risk, what would you do? Take a cab. Okay? Call Uber. So, when you know your critical risk, you will then address them first. Right? That's why risk assessment is important. In the same way, if you put into controls, you do not control everything just because you want to implement controls. You need to implement controls on where it really matters. And risk assessment plays a critical role on that. Okay? Creation of policies and procedures. Ito na tayo. Yan, hindi sumusunod sa policies yan. Kaya lagi kong chine-check. Binabalik ko sa kanila, walang compliance. Maybe the core reason for that is there's no clarity of what's really the policies and procedures that they are following. Or they're not even aware. Okay? But policies and procedures are there so that we know that in an organization, things are done uniformly. In case that person or that resource would go, you know that the next resource that would come along and do the same job will do the same job exactly as it should be. Right? And that's why auditors come into the picture. Internal auditors, external auditors are more of the compliance and the banks and the IFRS and all that. But internal auditors, they look because we need to ensure that we need to give assurance, by the way, that controls are in place. Okay. And that's why policies and procedures are there. Next, information and communication. Do you agree with me that if there's policies and procedures and if it's not communicated, it does not hold value?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And therefore, it's part of a risk management perspective when you roll out an ERM in your companies. Monitoring and activity. Monitoring activities. What are monitoring activities? Huh? What are monitoring? From the word monitor. Even if you put controls, even if they do their KPIs, you set the rules now, say this is our objective, and then you come back a year after and to see whether the objectives are reached. Do you think that will happen? They have really done what you asked them to do? No. Unless you monitor. The same way with our officers. Pag wala masyadong engagement ang mga officers, alam namin ang mga roles namin, no? Pero wala kaming masyadong follow-up, ay happy kami. Pagka-deadline na, huy, may event na! Huy, tara! Garag. This actually applies to everybody. Right? You agree?
Yes.
And therefore, when you are having a leadership role in your organizations, in your respective functions, monitoring is critical. Why it's critical? Because people will respect your objectives when you continuously monitor. Do not monitor that it becomes like nakakasakal na, ha? Monitor it professionally by looking into whether we are doing our KPIs. Right? You may have your staff, you have your team. You'd say, apart from our day-to-day activities that we do financial reporting and recording, we have a certain project that we would work together. Maybe it's a simple migration of your ERP system, right? You assign them tasks because the ERP project would still come in the next 6 months. But before that, you need to do your homework, right? You do project charter. You maybe have to connect with people that are relevant stakeholders for the project. Something like that, right? So you monitor them. How far are we? Huddles are important. That's a way of monitoring. How are we? Where are we now? Where are we against our goals? Are we 30%, 40%? Are we within schedule? In anything, in any function, every organization needs to be monitored. Okay? Right. Control environment. So we said, culture eats for breakfast your vision, strategy, mission, purpose, and the likes. You know, whatever is the goal of that organization, that's what everybody eats for breakfast. Napapansin nyo ba na if your head of the department is really full of deadline, kailangan before the deadline may pasabit nila, narag kayo, you eat it for breakfast, nagiging dinner nyo na, nagiging midnight snack nyo pa. Right? Because that's the culture. I cannot afford to be 1 day late because my boss gets screwed up. Pinapagalitan kami. That's culture. It's not written anywhere, but that's how people behave. Right? Why is this important? Because it sets the tone from the top. I've been into an organization where there was a big blunder, big screw up. But it's not a fault of one person, it's a fault of a group of people. And when something blew up, the head of the business called everybody in. Hindi syempre tahimik, no? Ano na kayo sasabihin nito? But what had shaken us was the CEO spoke and says, no one to blame. I don't want any blame game, but I want every executive responsible to break your heads and see how we can meet the deadlines starting today. You see? That sets a very loud tone. No one to blame. Nobody points fingers. But because everybody holds accountable for the failure they have done and they must have contributed, they all work their heads out, working until madaling araw, early morning, just to make the project feasible. Right? If you had a boss that says, what happened? Yeah. Who did this? Why did you do that? What would you feel? This is how culture changes people. And this is how culture changes how everybody in that organization behaves towards the corporate objective. Right? It's a pattern of beliefs, values, and learned ways that people would just do. I'll just want to share with you a video. If you could click on this. Hindi na ba? But yung video na lang. Yung picture na natin sa mga. Interesting ba ang topic?
Yes, very much.
Or malakas lang boses ko, kaya hindi kayo inaantok. That's why they put me in the last end. Okay, I'll share with you the video about how culture changes everything. It says you need to drive your culture, or your culture will drive you. Sometimes, I've been part of so many organizations in the past. You see, when the tone from the top says, we need to do this and we have to be accountable for that. Everybody is just like, you just operate in your head, oh, I am accountable. Then, when we gather, you have to report this, what's going to happen, what has happened, and all that. So, parang, pag may gagawin ka at hindi mo nagawa, natatakot ka na, right? Pero I've been into an organization din, kasi, in the ministry, voluntary ang bro, pasensya na, busy talaga. Everybody would have the excuse. Kaya minsan pag nagmi-meeting, ilan bang leaders natin? Bakit konti lang? Because we accept a culture that okay lang na absent, okay lang na hindi ko nagawa, because somebody else will take that. Kasi i-inform nila. You see? Very different. But when you're in a corporate world, you have to see that the culture really emphasizes on competence and integrity and accountability and on leadership. And I think that's very important. The culture you don't have to wait for the head of the business to create a culture. You can create a culture in your own organization, in your department. And that's all that matters. And then you affect other departments, and then it becomes a synergy. Are we okay? Duplicate mo yung ano. So, I run this course last week at Philippine Business School. Medyo mahaba yun, full day, kasi we touch base in so many controls. But it's really a good experience that I'm able to share, and you could also apply in your own workspace. These are knowledge bits and pieces that would improve you professionally and changes your perspective on things, rather than on what's on the paper, right? So, good. Thank you so much, Press. This is his initiative. Talagang, sige na, sis. Nahiya pa ako magsalita. Saglit lang ha, may glitch lang tayo. Correct. So, since the system calculates the weighted average cost of the unit, therefore there's already a variance in the recognition of the cost of the items. Yes. So, as financial accountants, is you need to know the policies and procedures that are being adhered to by the business units that you are supporting. Whatever they do has a financial impact, right? You might have some issues with customs duties. As simple as penalties, you have to ask questions. Why are we incurring very high penalties? As basic as asking on the original documents from your supplier so that you could claim the customs duties without penalties can save your company a lot of money. So as financial accountants, you need to know what they're doing, whether they're adhering to their policies and procedures, and how you could improve. Look at it from a risk perspective. Do not limit your focus on your financial reports, because your financial reports is actually the second line of control. Right? So those that are creating the transactions are the first line of defense, the first line of control. If they screw up, you get screwed up. And bottom line is management makes decision on what you are reporting. Okay? So look at this that way. I hope we could proceed. If otherwise, I'll take my laptop and proceed tayo. Okay. Your reputation. Right? What's the other objective? You make sure that you still exist in the next 5, 20, 15 years, right? Otherwise, wala na. Magplano na kayo ng ibang ano. So, you have to think that you are also contributing to the achievement of the objectives of the organization you're part of. Okay? Now, when you create or you contribute with a different perspective in your organization, you get appreciated. Right? Look at it from a risk management perspective. Risk management talaga. Okay. When you look into the strategic objectives of the organization, say for example, you are an accountant. All of us are accountants, and you are doing, how do I call this? You're doing a feasibility study, whether it's good to open a store or not, right? And then somewhere in the picture, they promised or they commit a contract. Speaking of contracts, they commit to open 20 stores to a principal just to bring the brand here. As an accountant, look at it whether are you capable of reaching that objective, or you raise a flag. Guys, I think we are overcommitting in a contract. Because historically, this is our capability to reach the revenues. And if you overcommit, then what? You get screwed up, right? Somewhere when you would have business managers that looks into just developing a new business, bringing new brand in without the right due diligence, and finance is also weak, then you would not be contributing towards your corporate objectives. So have that perspective, and maybe that's what the company needs. After all the numbers come into your hands. Yes? Okay. Focus on the good risk. Good risk. There are positive and negative risks, right? But what are positive risks? Those are positive events that can happen or you can leverage to reach your objectives much faster. As I said, if you have a good friend who could bring you to your office with a car, so you bypass the metro and take the car, why not? So, but the risk is, baka hindi din siya dadaan, no? So there's no assurance gonna happen. Look at it from that perspective. If you see an opportunity for you to improve on cost, improve processes, then by all means, use your financial acumen. You look into what your numbers talk about, then make a proposition. Risk management should be continuous and developing process. There's always an opportunity for you to re-challenge your initial assumptions. Sabi niya, so many iba siyang sinabi. Sabi niya, sabi niya later, no, you need to have a value, integrity, and confidentiality. Bakit natin niya ina-emphasize yun? May mga ibang ginagawa pala yung company. Tinatago lang nila dun sa values nila pa, no? Anyway, so it says this, no? It evaluates adherence. Okay? It evaluates adherence. That a single indication of life in an organization should be a basis for you to question your character and whether you're the right fit in the organization. Sense? Okay, I will not emphasize further. Board and Audit Committee oversight. So the Board and Audit Committee sets into the governance role and they set the tone also cascading down. Organization structure, assignment of authority and responsibility. This is important in a controlled environment. Kung hanap kayo ng company na malabo ang roles and responsibilities and everybody would be overlapping each other's role. At the end of the day, nobody takes accountability. Yes? So that is part of the controlled environment. Commitment to competence and enforce accountability. I don't have to explain further. Risk assessment. According to COSO principle, there is a specification of suitable objectives. When we do risk assessment, you need to put things into context. Ang laki ng topic na ito. Hinihingal ako kasi ang dami kong gustong sabihin. Okay? So, when you do a risk assessment, you put things into context. You don't do risk assessment on everything. Hindi mo saklaw lahat. Tama ba? Bisaya kasi ako, so pardon me for my choice of Tagalog words. Right, so when you do risk assessment, you focus on, you put into context. So say for example, right now, you are assessing on your compliance with VAT. Because there's always a delay, there's always a mismatch of your reporting and the data that you have gathered or the evidences that you have. Then put it into context. Then you try to understand, you identify what could be the risk factors on this. You see, when it already happened, it is considered an issue, not a risk anymore. But before an issue could have happened, those were just initially risks. Those are something that you could have prepared for before it happened. But then since you're in finance, second layer of control, you would only see the symptoms and indicators. So you focus on the things that you think are critical factors, risk factors into that, and assess which ones has the biggest impact. And those are the things that you put controls on and you verify. Okay? Assessment of fraud. Risk assessment. What can go wrong? How can it happen? Who could have access on it? See? So these are the questions you would ask. Okay? Si-share ko naman ito. No, kaya yung ano na siya, Bisaya. Talo ba? Talo yung mga kasabot. Kasabot mo? Okay. Maybe you're just nodding but you don't actually understand. Ah, see? English na lang tayo. So assessment of fraud, unauthorized access to data and information systems. I just like to emphasize this. Because there are a lot, fraud cannot just happen with cash. Come on guys, there's a lot of things that can happen with fraud. What are these? Sales. If you're looking into your sales revenue and your team in sales are always meeting their quota, what does it indicate? At the beginning of next month, malaki na naman ang credit notes. Those are then go-go sales, just for them to hit the code. Aren't these indicators, or we just record them blindly? Think about it. Right? So you do an assessment of fraud. There was a time when I was doing a comparison of our legacy system, which is an in-house system, and the financial records. It always ties up apple to apple. And then I asked, so what happens if the shop closes at 1 a.m. and the system recognizes the sale only until 12 midnight? If there's a sale between 11 to 1, what do? Oh, there's a manual intervention. Because we adjust on the date so that the sale from 12 to 1 would still be part of the previous day's sale. Then, you know what I did from an audit perspective? Well, this is what leads audits, the curiosity mindset. So I tried to see random dates. Where does my system fully reconcile on every day when I have what is in the system, what is in my front-end system, and what is in the back-end? Hindi nakikita ng finance surprisingly. but people were actually adjusting in the system, pwede pala silang gumawa ng temporary invoice. But when you issue to your client, it really looks like a normal invoice. And then in the back end, tatay up lang nila, babaguhin na because they could change the dates. Okay? So, I'm not saying it's frequent to happen, but people knows how to figure it out. Okay. So ask questions, ask critical questions. Come on, finance people. What can go wrong? What's happening? I smell something fishy. Really, that would really add value. The way you see your work, it's very critical that you wear that different hats. Control activities. Selection and implementation policies and procedures. Why is policies and procedures important? Wala pang retention. Why is it important, policies and procedures? So you would know that people would follow the same procedures, right? And within those procedures, there are policies that they need to align with. Okay. Now, any breach on that, try to see whether there's a proper approval. Right? So, nagmamadali ka na, kailangan nang ma-approve ito kasi hindi ma-ship yung order mo. What would you do? Ito bypass na lang, let the GM sign off. Anyway, kaibigan naman ng GM ang supplier. Don't you think it's time to raise a flag? Yeah? Alright. Now, information technology and general control. So, IT general controls is very important. Can you extract the ledger of your vendors? Yeah. Who amongst, how many of you have really asked who are the people who has access to extract ledgers from the backend? Maybe you don't even ask. But it's about time that you also ask these questions. Why? Your IT general controls is very important. As simple as your access is important. Whether your emails are not being hacked, how many of you have received emails from somebody telling them to change on the bank account? Right? So IT general controls are important. Disaster recovery controls are important. If something happens, nawalan ng Wi-Fi, nagdown ang server niyo, you lost the data. Are you able to retrieve them? If there is a transition between one system to another system, it needs to be converted. Who amongst you look into the integrity of the data? Those are important controls. Do you do batch control when you are migrating per-day transaction into your backend systems? Do you understand what's batch control? Yeah? You see the totals at the end of the day, how many transactions and how many? Yun! Just to prove that the integrity of the data is ensured, right? Right. User of relevant information and effective internal and external communication and monitoring activities. As I said, monitoring activities are important and essential because you need to ensure that everybody are reminded day in and day out. Right? So, mabilis lang ako, but I am on time. I have to manage the risk. Kasi the risk of you falling off. And it's 6 o'clock, 6:50. I have a few minutes now.